Hello, everybody. Check, check. Are we live? Good? All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Zach Parrish. I'm the programming librarian here at the Bexley Public Library. Thank you all so much for coming out. We have two incredible poets, so I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. Just a couple quick housekeeping things. Thank you to Gramercy Books for selling books for tonight's book signing and event. Yes, thank you, Gramercy. If you haven't already gotten your copy, they will be around afterwards as well, so please visit them. They're right outside the doors. And then after Barbara and Hanif do their thing up here, we're going to just pull this table out. So if you want to get your copy signed, just try to make a line over here, and we'll get everybody through. Also, the library closes at 8. That will not affect anyone in here. If you're exiting, you can go up those stairs that some of you might have come in, and those doors will be open. If anyone needs to use the elevator, just come find myself or Josh, and we can take you up and unlock the front doors for you. All right. Hanif told me to keep this short, so I'll do my best. Hanif Abdurraqib is an award. You told me you weren't going to tell me how to do my job. All right. Hanif is an award-winning poet, essayist, cultural critic, Minnesota Timberwolves fan, runner, all things from Columbus, Ohio. His latest release, There's Always This Year on Basketball and Ascension, was a New York Times bestseller and longlisted for the National Book Award in Nonfiction, and the winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award in Criticism. His previous book, A Little Devil in America, was a winner of the Andrew Carnegie Medal and the Gordon Byrne Prize. He is a graduate of Beechcroft High School. Give it up for Hanif Abdurraqib. All right. And what brings us all here tonight. Barbara Fant is an acclaimed poet who has been writing and performing for over 15 years. She has competed in 9 national poetry slam competitions and placed 8th out of 96 poets in the 2017 Women of the World Poetry Slam. Her previous poetry collections include Paint Inside Out from Penmanship Books and Mouths of Garden, which she was here last time for, so we're happy to have her back, from Sundress Publications. She is the founder of Bloom Life Foundation, Inc., the Black Women Rise Poetry Collection, and co-founder of the Senghor Project, a West African International Artist Residency. Joy in the Belly of a Riot is her 3rd collection of poetry. Please give it up for Barbara Fant.
Hey, y'all. Thank you so much for having me here. It's good to be home. How y'all feeling? Okay. We feeling okay? Say yeah. If we feeling okay, say yeah. All right, all right, all right. That's good. That makes me feel good. Gets the jitters out. All right. I'm going to read some poems. That's cool. And hey, the incredible Hanif is here. I'm so excited that he's here. I did ask him to read something. I don't know if he's actually going to do it or not, but, you know, I asked nicely. I also asked somebody else to read something, but I won't say his name. So, yes. There must be angels walking with me. I used to wake up fighting demons in my sleep. Funerals, a parade in my dreams, emergency button above my bed, a crescendo of bullets cascading the sky. But we were kept alive. Can't you see how there are angels walking with me? Devil tried to swallow me whole, claim my life, but God told death, she's mine. Sound of burning buildings, all the dreams about caskets, and then I had to pick out my mother's. But when he had the gun to my head, the bullet never released. When the men on porch, crowbar in hand, they weren't able to shatter the glass. This body, stray bullets never caught any of us by the throat. All limbs still left intact, every weapon that formed, but did not prosper. Can't you see how there are angels walking with me, parting the sea of every storm like a mouth with a praise pouring out? There are warriors in my blood. A cloud of giants chanting in ancestor rhythms surrounding my sleep and my day, my back, and my before. There are generations speaking through me, a swarm of swords swinging from my mouth, a lineage of prayers falling from my tongue. Know that there are angels carrying me. Can't you see how there are angels walking with me? Thank you. Joy in the belly of a riot, y'all. This became a book. It was just a flimsy little manuscript. And yeah, it became something. It really, it started off as me, I'll read the poem later, but the original title of the book was I Keep Trying to Write About the Trauma, but the Joy Won't Let Me. And I'm gonna say it again. I keep trying to write about the trauma, but the joy won't let me. I think sometimes we get in this rhythm of just rehearsing the trauma, but healing is a journey. And I tried to take us on that journey through this book. So you'll see hear a lot of poems like that. One of the things that I wanna move to is this piece around ancestry, which I think Hanif and I are gonna get into a little bit today, is the honoring of ancestors and lineage. I'm gonna read this poem. It's called Magic Before Magic. And I'm gonna read it because of our dear elder and ancestor, Said, who was my incredible mentor and friend and mentor to so many, especially folks in this room. Had it not been for him, I would have never stepped onto a stage. He found me at, what was it called back then? It was the Brownstone. Yeah, like, look at Will. Will's like, what? Black Pearl Poetry is where I met Said, and he was like, hey, my sister, do you write? And I was like, yeah. He was like, have you ever read? And I was like, no. And he was like, well, whenever you go to an open mic, always have a poem on you. And I was like, all right, okay, cool. And I went to an open mic the next day, and I did my first open mic, and I was 18 years old, and I haven't left the stage since. And he took me everywhere. Everywhere he went, I was. And he used to play with the djembe. He had a whole band, and he did this poem called Magic People. And it would be like a djembe behind him. It would be Baba West behind him. So shout out to Baba West too, another ancestor, right? And he would say, magic people, magic people. And the audience will reply back, magic people, magic people. There you go. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna do this poem in honor of all of our ancestors, including Said, including Katora, including D'Angelo now, and Magic Before Magic. We have been called magic before. Our eyes, subtle stillness dancing to the branches of our bodies, tree limbs, reaching towards the heavens, above the sun, above the rain, dance rivering us out of our bones. We have been called magic before, swinging from trees until we became them, bearing the fruit of someone else's child, nursing someone else's child while ours lay hanging. Its body, a box of bones we're forced to carry 6 feet beneath our chest, so we dig deep inside our bodies and pull out every ounce of glitter prayer glistening until it reaches our tongues and we learn to speak life over ourselves. We have been this magic before, bursting into everyone else's box of glitter and shine and hiding the fact that we birthed it. It came from our womb we laid, bruised and bloodied while they dance into midnight until they become the stars we own. We do own the stars, you know. We have been that magic before. How else could you find something to wish upon in this shade of midnight if it didn't already come soaked in our skin shade of brilliant? We have been this magic before, teaching the moon to dance and bend her dust into the shape of an eye, peering out onto everyone's breath while they lay sleep to make sure they keep breathing through every ounce of night that hits their lives like, my magic is so black. She looked in the mirror and called herself solar system. My magic is so black. The stardust grew herself a fro, braided her body into cornrows. I said, my magic is so black. She bounced her reflection off the ocean and the waves started sea walking. My magic is so black. Her midnight's blues mistook her throat for hip hop. and jazz and poetry and mystery and religion and art and culture and culture and culture and everything stolen from her body's magic in the first place, where culture was ripped from our veins. We learned to river ourselves into a chandelier of cardinals taking flight, cutting the sky into red, until everyone learned how to bleed the rhythm of this nation. Yo, we are the rhythm of this nation in all its black and brownness. Yo, black history is American history. And America does not exist without this hue of sand and wood and tornado and casket. We have learned to carve the caskets from our own bodies and sing a new song louder. Carve the caskets from our own throats and bloomed a new tongue louder. And there is always a new tongue to be bloomed. And we have always been this magic. We have been called this wishbone and golden before, but when they forget our names, and they will because they do often, every ounce of glitter left within our bodies will rise into a new body and throat and tongue until we braid ourselves into a new language again and rewrite history again and all that magic, y'all, and rise and rise and rise. Thank you. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna read some poems that I don't usually read. Is that cool? Yeah. All right. So I read this the other day, but it was the first time I read it out loud, and I read it to a group of women I was working with at Amethyst, and I was just talking about like growing up in Youngstown and how it's not easy, and it's just, you go through a lot. You see a lot early, and folks lose their lives too early. And I wrote this poem for a friend of mine whose life was taken too soon. And if you knew her, then you would know the story. Just the two of us girls in plaid skirts for JS. I came across your picture today. Us in high school, smiles as bright as tomorrow. We thought we had so many tomorrows. Back then, we were just two girls drifting through school, catching laughter in our hair. Remember how we used to braid each other's hair? We would stay up all night, watching music videos and tending to each other's crowns. Remember our dance moves? We'd learn every new move from Sierra or Destiny's Child and plan to replicate it on stage. When I got the news of what happened to you, I was in a city 3 hours away in a classroom, learning about genealogy, the patterns traced through a family line. My goodness, how our trauma follows us. They told me of the house, that it happened early in the morning, that your boyfriend didn't make it either, how they left the baby untouched on the bed, swimming in a pool of blood, surrounded by parents she would never grow to know. Her only memory, a lullaby of bullets springing out around her, a fireworked nightmare. They told me how they had yet to find out who did it. I remember how your mother passed the same exact way. My goodness, how our trauma chases us. How they mention this on the news. How no one deserved this. How you didn't deserve this. I came across your picture today, and I remembered us sitting on my front porch after school, just the two of us motherless girls in plaid skirts, waiting for a brighter tomorrow. I'll remember us this way, still waiting for a brighter tomorrow. Thank you. All right, how we feeling? We feeling okay? All right. Maybe I'll read like 2 more poems and then we'll jump into a little talk. Okay, sure. Hanif said, Okay, Hanif, sure. I'll read this poem because it's about summer. And I promise there's joy in this, but I'll talk about it later. I've heard you may not come, that your limbs might not push up tulips into the earth's mouth. I miss you like you never left. Windows down, cool breeze slicing through our hair, careening through festivals, stages, all the stages built for us to remind the world why we spend so much time molding our thoughts on paper, walks at midnight, sunset the color of my granny's cheeks, my big cousin's bright nails, as she would run outside to meet her boyfriend Dwight and his friends. When we were young, they used to fill up water guns and do drive-bys, chase us around the neighborhood, switch up cars just to catch us off guard. Like the year we ran around blasting Donnell Jones's track, "This is for my players in the hood." Y'all remember that song? Just an ordinary day. That was the summer Trey was killed. Right on the corner, 3 houses down. 1 house down from us was a crack-polluted garden, and to the other side, the guy who sold to them. Our sun-filled days were spent over my auntie's place, bike rides through the park, and random strolls to the corner store. Dairy Queen trips were always a must, just so we could clown Dom for getting cherry Mr. Misty's instead of ice cream. As my limbs grew longer, it was buying the cutest crop top and wearing it to the mall, so I could give my number to a cute guy, and buy the next cutest crop top for the next weekend. Skating or movies, a date or night with my friends. My mama was still alive back then, and I always kept one of the weekends just for the 2 of us. Oh, summer, I heard you might not come back. I miss your nights, thick like blackberry molasses, one of the things that never changes. I kept that song in constant rotation like a Ferris wheel, my mother's favorite dream. The year my little cousin was born was the summer right before my mother flew into eternity. Sometimes I would catch that little baby gazing above my head and giggling as if an angel was floating above, making her laugh. Babies are so close to heaven. It's as if they can see the earth melt into the sun before she buries herself into a moonlit plum sky. Summer, I hope you come back to us. We need your memories to remind us we have once lived and are still alive. Okay, cool. So there's a few poems I have in the book that are they're like angel stories, and I wanted to tell these like stories where so my family talks a lot about angels and the presence of angels, and so I wanted to kind of do a little bit of that in the book, but of course I wasn't present for these. I wasn't physically there, but I wanted to do that. So I will read this one poem, and then I'll read another poem, and then I'm done, I promise. This is Angels for Ray. Legend has it that he was dangling over the bridge, at least half his body, preparing to submerge whole, surrender to whatever darkness could lift the one he was under. My grandfather walked the normal way home from the bar. But that night, the alcohol became his hands, legs, footsteps. She said she saw him walking, a rag doll flinging himself over a bridge, a kite bending itself into a purple midnight. They said it was after midnight. She arrived, a curly-haired petite woman, carrying him in her arms like a child, a rag doll dangling her arms a bridge. As she told my grandmother how she found him, where she found him, that she couldn't leave him there alone. We were told they laid him on the couch, got him settled. When they went back to the door to thank the curly-haired woman, there was no curly-haired woman to be found. No trace, no car, no person, no body, except my grandfather's, safe, nestled back into his home, back into his skin, back into his right mind. Another chance at life. How he remembered she smelled of lavender. Legend has it that she must have had wings, that they must have been entertaining something from the heavens. Thank you. All right. Thank you. So this is the last piece I'm gonna read, and it is, I keep trying to write about the trauma, but the joy won't let me. This kind of came about because I found this quote from Lupita Nyong'o, and she was quoting Khalil Gibran, and she was talking about joy. And the quote was, "Joy is not the absence of pain, but it's happiness in spite of it. Joy is not the absence of pain, but it's happiness in spite of it. I keep trying to write about the trauma, but the joy won't let me. I keep trying to write about the trauma, but the joy won't let me bend into anything other than the light. I keep stretching myself into 1,000 midnights, and I awake amidst a million stars. Sometimes the journey towards healing is louder than the healing itself. The walk towards becoming whole is often the fight of your life. Here is where I fight for my life. Here is where I see myself as more. It is much easier to dwell on the past, to recall all the places where I lost pieces of myself, rewalk all the streets collecting lost limbs, yet here I am, claiming wholeness from my tongue. Even when my body may not feel it is true, here I am, claiming freedom. When all I have known is bondage, here I am free, offering myself another chance at actually living, offering my heart another chance at beating, offering my soul another chance at finding rest. Even while I am still in this body, my pen wants to keep rewriting all the things I have survived, the many lives I have lived. But the joy is forcing me to reimagine a future. The joy is forcing me to claim a future. The joy is calling me into a future. The joy refuses to let me bend into anything other than the light. Thank y'all so much. My dear brother, welcome to the stage. Hanif. Should I move this? Okay. Thank y'all.
Cool. It's so good to be here. Thank y'all for coming. Barb, I'm so proud of you. You know, like I feel like, and we talked about this before, I'm like pretty fucked up about D'Angelo, and so I think I'm in a very tender space, but also to get to do this has been such a pleasure to think about, because I'm so proud of this book, and I think I'm feeling especially emotional because where's Scott go? Scott left? Scott dipped? He just came through so we could see our Sade sweatshirt?
I think he said came to say hi.
Nigga came through and was like, look at what I got on. It was
literally.
I say that though because I look around this room and there are so many people in this room, like a few specifically, like Will and Scott specifically, without both of whom I would not be a person who wrote poems. Without hyperbole, like literally without those two, I would never have written a poem.
Same.
And so by extension, I remember coming to Writing Wrongs, and I was a poet who like would not read, who was afraid to read poems. And I was sitting in the back, and I remember hearing your work and being like, it was one of those moments where I thought to myself, if this is what poems and the performance of poems is, I'm probably in the wrong business, you know? But it was so
crazy
important.
Coming out of Hanif, right?
But it was so important for me to get to learn from you. Like, and I was reading this book, rereading it this morning, and I was so moved by the fact that all these years later, I'm still learning from you. Like, I'm still kind of in the back of the room witnessing you and being like, if this is what poems can do, I need to get back to work, you know? And I'm really thankful for the many years I've gotten to learn from you. And I'm just so moved by this book. It's so special. So thank you for making it.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Yo, Hanif. I feel like a little kid. I want to slump down in my chair like this.
I wrote a bunch of bad notes on little pieces of paper, and I figure we're probably not going to get to them all because we actually know each other. I took notes as if we'd never spoken before. But one thing I did want to talk about in the book was this kind of sense of running up against the wall of writing about trauma. Like, I know I'm glad you read that poem last because it seems like that's a breakthrough moment. But I also was curious if you encountered emotionally, mentally, whatever, how trauma lives in the body, if a failure to adequately write about trauma feels like a success in other ways. Like, if it does feel like you are being overtaken by something else that allows you to say, I actually maybe don't need to excavate this as rigidly as I thought I did.
Yes. Repeat the question, please.
Okay, let me put it a different way. the feeling, the sense of trauma being overtaken by joy, or being like run over by joy in a sense, which kind of runs through the book. How did that actually manifest itself in the writing process? Like, how were you aware of that occurrence when attempting to write the book?
I started writing love poems. And I don't even write love poems, you know? But there's like love poems in the book. Yeah. I think I was writing love poems. I started exploring like another part of myself. And I kind of just wanted to start, telling myself like, you don't always have to write about the trauma too. So part of that is me telling myself, let's not just rehearse the trauma on stage. Let's not just rehearse the trauma on the page. Like, let's write about all the other things too. And I started writing love poems. I also started really diving into ancestry a whole lot more, and started exploring like the family lineage that I come from and the stories that I was told, and trying to make those things come alive on the page too. So it became like this kind of doorway for me to explore all those other things too. Like, wow, there's so much to our stories. And I think sometimes, especially when you grow up in slam culture, which we know. Slam is good for a lot of things, but it also is
bad for a lot of things.
Bad for a lot of things. And it makes you rehearse the trauma. Sometimes you're like, well, this is not a good poem unless I am rehearsing all these horrible things that have happened to me. And then you start to heal, and you're like, oh crap, can I even write poems anymore? Because I'm healing, and I wanted to kind of push against that.
I really enjoyed the love poems, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I was in love once, or twice, or 3 times. No.
Was that like I didn't want to bring it up. I'm glad you brought up the love poems. I read them and I was like, this is new, but I was also not going to bring it up.
This is new for Barb.
Yeah,
that's what he
Barb,
said.
Yeah. I was like, but I didn't want to bring it up on stage if it was a sense. But now I am. Thank you for bringing it up.
Permission. It's about permission.
How are you feel? Like, did you feel? What is the process of a Barb love poem? Because it is a very different realm for you. And now that they're here in the book, were you unsettled at any point where you're like, damn, I did this new thing and now people are going to be looking at it?
Yeah. I'm like, but I feel like that every time I be writing stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, my business is out in the streets.
But love business is like different business.
Love business is like different business. Yeah, because I definitely don't be talking about that unless something bad happened, and then I'll be talking about that. But you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, yeah, it feels exposing, I think, but it also allowed me to be soft. Because I'm gangster, y'all. But I do have a soft side, you know what I mean? And I liked exploring that in my writing. And something Mahogany talks about, she talks about poems giving her permission. Yep. And I feel like poems give you permission. Like, it gives me permission to go wherever I want to go on the page. If that's love, then I want to go there on the page and explore it. And if it makes me sound however it makes me sound, then it does. But it's me exploring. And I think I got to do that.
I thought you sounded great. I was really moved by the love poems. I was like, maybe I need to start experimenting with love poems.
Hanif experimenting with love poems? Everything you write is romantic.
I think so, but I think the consensus, people people are like, he's so sad. He's like the sad person.
No, I think
you have depression one time and then it's your whole...
I think it's grief.
Yeah,
I think you talk about grief,
sure.
But you also talk about movement through grief, and you help pull other people through that. So you talk about the dance with grief. I think. I don't know. How do y'all feel? Do y'all feel about that? I feel like that about.
But I feel like I'm not writing like the love odes, which I should do now that I've read your kind of.
Oh my goodness, sure.
Yeah, that's what's next. That's what's next for me, perhaps.
Love poems coming from Hanif. It's coming. It's the next book, right?
Yeah, the next book is fully about love poems. I think like there's something interesting about the way your poems live on the page, because they take on a kind of physicality, both in form and just like in the percussive language. Like, you really do land on like the B words again, B and P and M, like really hard percussive sounds. And what I love about your literal performance of work, like that I've seen for years and years and years, is that the poem almost feels like it is physically exiting you, every time. And so I'm interested in how you manage the physical act of the poem presenting itself on the page? Am I asking like the hard mahogany questions?
No. I mean, yes, you are, because yes. But
I saw your face when I was asking that question.
This is good though. No, because when people ask questions, your brain starts to go a million different ways. So that's what was happening. But I am enjoying this. Thank you. It's fun. No, I mean, I think initially what I started thinking about is I heard Andrea Gibson talk about like writing poems years ago, and she was talking about how they would walk around a room, and when they were writing a poem, sometimes they'd be visibly like shaking, and like a poem kind of moving through your body. And I feel like that with poems. I feel like the poems actually move themselves through me. Like it takes a while. I've never, given birth, but I feel like the poems take on this kind of birth through me. It is a release of sorts. So I was just talking the other day to the group of women. I think that part of the releasing of a poem is the writing it on the page. But then I feel like the other layer of that release is the power of being able to release that to someone else. And sometimes that's on the stage for me. So that's another layer of I feel like the healing process, and the poem actually moving through me. And I also feel like sometimes once I'm able to release it out, I don't necessarily have to walk around with that full trauma in my body anymore because I've released it to a certain degree.
Yeah. I really loved hearing you perform the poems that I've read. And I think one real bit of gratitude I have for knowing your voice so well, your literal performance voice, is that every time I read your book, it's like, okay, this is coming to life for me exactly in the way I'm imagining it.
Oh,
and to have that feel confirmed by watching you perform is always such a delight. So I'm glad you read. I was interested in the reconstruction of, and you touched on this, the angel stories, and also just the reconstruction of memory that is ever present in your book, where you even mentioned a thing on stage where you're like, I wasn't actually there for this, but I'm doing the work of archiving it nonetheless. What responsibility do you have to those kind of strict calculations around your own personal archival that then becomes other people's archival through witness? Do you feel like you have to be as accurate as do you need to like do depth of research, or do you just say like, I am going to reconstruct this as I imagine it and that is good enough?
Thank you for that. I think there are certain things, there are certain parts of stories that I don't know. I'm not ready to talk about some of the things that have happened, like in my family line, that I'm beginning to do some research around, that I will process at a later time. One of my grandparents was taken violently. So I will be doing some research around that, and I feel like I owe that to my family to be able to tell that story properly. And then there are spaces like the angel stories where I'm using somewhat of a creative license, and it's almost like historical fiction, I guess, in a way, where I get to kind of take pieces from this person's story and pieces from this person's story and pieces from this person's story and reconstruct what I thought would be the reality of the situation, and bring that to life.
Are you ever going to write like a historical fiction type of thing? I was reading this book and thinking about fiction. I was thinking about fiction for real, because I think the way that you, like your poems all have this really great pace to them. They're all really propulsive. And I was like, is there like a fiction project on the table?
Are you being prophetic? I don't know. No,
I would read a fiction book. I feel like also, I'm not bullshitting. Like, I think there's a way that you build a universe like of generational, not just trauma, but generational pleasure, generational joy, and like history that feels very much like B.B. Moore Campbell or Britt Bennett. Like, it just feels like there's I'm not telling you have to write a novel. I'm just curious if there is
something.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought a lot about that, but if I
can
do,
be your agent.
I was about to say, I need you to be my agent, my editor,
Unfortunately, I can't edit fiction, but I would. So I would. You don't want me as an editor.
Okay. You could coach me though.
I could just be motivational.
That's
you
perfect.
also don't want me as an agent because I'm like a people pleaser, so you would not get a good deal on that book. It'd just be like, this person wants to pay you, take whatever.
I don't know, but I'd be like, Hanif said, and then, I mean, it might work. I don't know.
That's gotten a lot of people in trouble. I wanted to talk about ancestry and ancestors and the honoring of ancestors as a kind of archival. And I'm thinking about this today, and we were talking about this before we went on, because like it is a time of just deep, like great loss, immense loss. And I was like, on the way here, I was thinking about, I don't even know if it's in a week, but we lost Asada, and Miss Major, D'Angelo, like local folks. Like we're just losing a lot of people. And it has made me think a lot about how to kind of cut through the noise of grief as it exists in the public square, so to speak, which now is on the internet, and tend to the slow work of grieving and the slow work of archival, which I think is so present in all of your work, because it's not necessarily responding to grief as a one-time incident. Like even calling Iset and Baba West into the room, right, is a long tail response to loss. And I'm just wondering how you maintain that commitment while also committing to the parts of yourself that are not only grieving.
Well, I just feel like they're always ever present and always with us. And you said something today on your Instagram where you were talking about how, and I'm going to quote you wrong, but it was like when people pass on, it's just another opportunity for us to honor their life more. And I feel like that's what that is about. I feel like they're just always with us and always present. I don't feel like, I don't know, I really move off of this scripture that says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And I just really believe that folks just kind of shift space, but they're still very present with us. And I just operate out of that, knowing that my mother is still here.
Yeah.
Iset is still here.
Indeed.
Baba West is still here.
I was thinking about Baba West last week. My dad and my brother drummed with him when I was young. And every time he saw me for, from age 8 to age 40, he'd be like, "You're Idris's kid." And he would never actually follow up beyond that. He would just point at me and say, "You're Idris's kid." And but that's funny, but it's also beautiful to have that confirmation of lineage from someone, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just like a firm, direct confirmation of lineage from someone who, in a place you love, from someone who knew you when you were like this big.
Yeah.
And I love that, and that's the thing I miss about him the most. I was thinking about him earlier, and that is, I think, the thing that I missed about him the most. And I miss Iset getting my name wrong, like truly. Because it was never just one, he would say my name a different way every time. So there were like 100 variations on my name. And I was like, I'm never gonna correct him. Because I actually love that he's just up here. I think that you do a good job of honoring the full person. And that kind of opens up the door to the next question, because this thing that happens in the book where there's this refrain of either in poem titles or in the bodies of poems where you're like, I am not this, or I'm not only this. So I'm not only my family's history, I'm not only... And I was wondering if through the process of working through the things you are not, did you kind of hit a clarifying point of the person you are / becoming? Or was this like an exclusionary thing only, or was there something on the other side of that?
No, I think I did. I think I gained a lot of clarity about like who I am and about who I want to be in the world. And I think for so long, I have always, I've been in the ministry space, but I also have been in the poetry space. And I've always been too, worldly to really fit into the Christian church space. And then I've always felt like maybe I'm too religious to fit fully into this poetry space. But, I just have kind of, through the process of really building this collection, have gained a lot of clarity that I'm all of those things. And I'm going to be exactly who I'm supposed to be, and move in that. You know, I'm all encompassing, and I wanna be able to move in that in the world. And I feel like that when I really move in that, that's where my true power is.
Yeah.
And I have clarity around that now. And I've also been told for many, many years, like, poetry's not enough. You know, it's never enough. And I feel like at this point in my life, I'm like, no, the poems are enough. Because when I follow the poems, I land where I'm supposed to be. And so yeah, thank you for that.
I'm glad these questions are not like brutally
right,
annoying.
No, they're not annoying at all. They're great.
When you told me the Mo thing, I was like, oh no.
I was
looking at, after you said that, I was looking
Mo
at my notes
dearly.
like, damn, I may be fucked up.
No, Mo is so smart. I'm not smart enough to answer these questions. You know,
Yeah.
like.
It's good that I'm not as smart as Mo, honestly.
Actually, you're a genius, aren't you? A certified genius? I'm pretty sure the world has called him a certified genius. So, all right, sure, okay, go ahead.
Only for
Next
another
question.
year. My
Only for
MacArthur
another year.
Fellowship ends after next year. Then I'm just back to being like a, you know what I mean? I'm just like a regular guy who has to do math on my hands. Do you actually think you're too, I don't know, churchy for the poetry side? I don't think, I'm interested in hearing you expand on that, mostly because, and we're saying this in a room with like literally Ajane, you know what I mean? Like, Matthias,
right, yeah.
like,
I was about to say, Ajane's here, like, I could shout out so many folks who are here.
But there are folks who I think really, and you're among them, who I think so intelligently blend, not even blend, but like immerse the work in scripture and faith in a way that does not, it's just like is a part of the body of work. And also, you're also, I think by default, like a preacher. And I'm not being jokey. I mean, like, literally you came up on stage and you did a very preacher thing. Like, you did a very, the immediate crowd engagement and then, like, returning for more crowd engagement. It's like you have that it's, I don't know. I mean, do you not think these two things in you are kind of, I feel like that part of you is built for poetics.
Thank you. Sure. I don't know. I mean, I think it comes from probably growing up in the church, but I have felt like, I feel like I had to grow into it. I started writing really as a form of prayer. That was like my relationship to poetry was, okay, I don't really know how to process my mother's death, so I'm just gonna do the one thing that's natural to me, which is to write. And I started writing like as this form of prayer. So I think when it came to like performance, I had to naturally sculpt a space for myself, right? And I had to learn how to feel comfortable in all of that. And I feel like that's something that I'm maybe more comfortable in now, but I'm also comfortable because I have other folks who are doing that work, like Ajane, who's in the room, right? Like Matthias, who's in the room, like Cynthia, who's in the room, right? Who have these clearly defined relationships with God, with the divine, and who write into them clearly. And it makes me more comfortable in my own skin.
Can I, also, Ajane, is like, you're like a whole divinity student, right? Like a whole ass.
I reached out to Barb because I was like, I want to go to get my master's in theology, and I heard you do that. That's literally it.
Look at you. You know what I mean? It's like we could, if we had like a little pool, we could start baptizing people, you know what I mean?
I'm
like
ready
an
when you are,
inflatable
Reverend, because
I was curious because I just told a story about how you were a person I saw when I was a young performer that changed. Who were some people that you watched coming up to hone your kind of performance abilities?
so many.
Yeah.
I think the first person I saw, and I saw her on HBO Def Poetry, was Sonny Patterson.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw Sonny Patterson, and I was like, I don't know what that was, but that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
For sure.
So definitely Sonny. Definitely my very first feature that I witnessed was Talam Acey.
Wow.
At Black Pearl Poetry.
Wow.
Definitely witnessing Will Evans, who is in the building, okay? Can't believe it. And he's the person who was like, hey Barb, I need you to slam. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And he was like, yes, you can. And I did. And they sent me to the very first Women of the World Poetry Slam in 2008, which changed my life. It rocked my entire world because Andrea Gibson won that year. Rachel McKibbins was there. Mahogany O. Brown was there. So I could go on, but all those folks completely changed my life. And then Will became my coach. And one thing I will say too is that it always said, hey, like, in order to be able to know your voice, you have to be able to hear and listen to other folks in the city. You have to go to all the spaces. You got to go to the literary spaces. You got to go to the Afrocentric spaces. You got to go to the slam spaces. You got to go, and I feel like being able to do that helped me figure out what my voice could be in a space.
Yeah, I think we were lucky, and all of us that came up in Columbus were lucky because you could just go to so many places. I remember like there's a point where there was like a different type of night every night.
Oh yeah, you
and
could
sometimes two.
Yeah,
because I would host my night, and then I would sometimes go to the Nest, which is like a whole ass different thing. JG, I would be at the Nest like 10:30 p.m. Shit ain't started. You know what I mean?
Right. Feature ain't got up yet.
Feature ain't got up yet.
I gotta go to sleep. I got class in the morning. Yeah. But Mondays was like Larry's. We used to do that literary spot. I don't know who remembers that, but Tuesdays was Righting Wrongs. Wednesdays, you could be at New Harvest. Thursdays, you hit Hanif's spot.
Yeah.
You hit the Nest. You could find poetry at a gallery on a Friday.
Yeah.
On a Saturday, we'd probably be out at a festival. Like
For sure.
literally
every night, yeah.
Every night there was poetry.
And I think sometimes people don't appreciate that that's actually the work of honing the voice.
Yeah.
It's just like repetition and challenging yourself. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know about you and your approach to slam, but the whole reason, I slammed at Writer's Block early on.
Wednesday night,
yeah, because I just wanted to challenge myself. Like I remember seeing a slam at Writer's Block, and speaking of like late great ancestors, I remember seeing Gina Blaurock.
Oh yeah,
and being like,
Gina.
well, I'm probably not as good as that, but I want to try. You know what I mean? I had something in me that was like, I kind of just want to try that.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a thing that people don't appreciate about the honing of the voice that is through, I don't even know if I want to say competition, but it is through looking at who is in your city and saying, I want to just see how I stack up.
Yeah.
Like I remember the first year I slammed at Writer's Block or Righting Wrongs, and getting to the Grand Slam was like fucking brutal. Like it was like the 8 poets who were like the 10-ish poets who were competing. It was just like, like maybe on any given night you have to slam against like Marshawn McCarroll, who's not bad, right? Like not a bad poet. And that was really good, I think, to not only challenge me as a writer, but challenge my literal voice as a performer. Yeah.
Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah.
I mean, like, shout out to Columbus for
really
for real, cultivating the voice.
We don't have to write any more poems. I don't know if we're supposed to leave time for the audience. I would guess so, but
are we? Okay, cool.
I would like to ask one more question about the or maybe we don't have to.
No, we can. Thank y'all for being here.
Don't do it, Zach. Zach was like, don't.
Take your time. Questions can be asked.
Oh, I thought Zach was saying, fuck these people. Zach was back there like.
It was the hand motions, you weren't sure, but thank you, Zach.
I'm going to ask one more, and then if the audience questions are not robust, then I'm going to sweep back in. But I do, since we are talking beautifully about our community, I want to give them a chance to respond.
Shout out to the community that's here, y'all. Shout out to y'all. That's what's up. You can also ask Hanif questions, too, so.
I wanted to ask about, there's a way that I think, and you mentioned this in Slam, where the impulse can be the glorification of trauma, of violence, and I think about specifically violence. And I thought your book, you write about violence so thoughtfully and even tenderly in a way, and not in a way that is kind of glamorizing it or doing the thing of like, I don't know how to describe it, but I think we know, particularly when Black poets are leaning into violence as a tool to kind of present some type of environmental connection, not for our folks, you know what I mean? Like for folks who maybe did not come up the way we came up. Right. And I was interested specifically in in your work, how do you not shy away from the articulation of violence while at the same time treating it with real care?
I think I'm always concerned about the whole person. I think I'm always concerned about the soul of the person, but then I always have in mind who might be reading this too. And what I want to, I think about like the family of my friend, right, who I write about in the book. Like, what if her kids pick up this book, and kind of know this story? Will they feel like I cared for the person? Will they feel like I cared for their mother? And I think I always, and I mean, because of your work, because of Ross Gay's work, like I think about leaning into honoring the human and the humanity of the person, and always, cultivating a space that is pure and sacred for the whole human. And so it doesn't mean that the violence wasn't as real as it was. It doesn't mean that it wasn't as painful as it was, but it does mean that there could be some kind of peace in the midst of that. And I feel like that probably comes from the fact that I was sheltered in a lot of ways. I grew up in a lot of violence, but I also grew up in the church. I also had a sacred space that was carved out for me, that protected me, and that made sure I made it to be right here, right now. And so I think about that too when I'm writing those pieces.
Since you mentioned, I know I said I only had one, but I'm going to ask. Since you mentioned Ross Gay, can I tell you about my favorite poem in the whole book? My favorite, because it felt like a Ross Gay poem.
Oh man, what an honor. Okay.
My favorite poem in the whole book is Perm Elegy, the elegy to the perm.
Oh yeah.
Because
I never read that poem either, so thank you.
It's so sprawling and so, I mean, it is a long poem, but actually like not a ton is happening other than praise. You know what I mean? Like there's not, which, that is perhaps the great form of the elegy, is like, you actually don't have to propel this poem forward by anything other than like, look at this thing, look at this thing, look at this thing. Yeah. But it's just such a patient and beautiful poem. I don't know. I guess it's not a question, but I love that poem.
Oh my gosh, thank you, honey. It's a poem about getting a perm.
Yeah, like straight up.
I get a perm when I was in kindergarten, and one thing about my family is, like my grandma, she was like, if you're gonna come out the house, you better come out with your face done. Like you're not gonna come out dusty. You know what I mean? I came from a prissy family, and so I got a perm when I was in kindergarten. And Aunt Pam is in the room, so she knows. B did not play around, okay? And so we got our hair done every 2 weeks. And I got a perm when I was in kindergarten, so I wrote a poem about that.
I love that.
And honored my family through that. So thank you.
And I love how, and then, okay, so think about your questions as I give this one last compliment. What I love about your poems generally, and I said before you came on stage about how I was moved by the growth in this book to see your craft evolve. And one thing that I really loved about that elegy, for example, is that what I love about your general poetic voice is that we do move a lot. Like we are kind of here, 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 and it all kind of ties together. I kind of love that in that poem. We're really fixed to one place, and it's so patient and beautiful. It did make me think about Ross. It made me think about that poem to the fig. Have you read that poem, The Fig Tree on Night and Christian, where ain't shit happening except he's like picking figs for people?
Oh no, I need to get
beautiful.
that poem. Yeah.
It's also about how like Philadelphia, it's also about the move bombing, but in typical Ross fashion, it's like, look at this beautiful action I'm doing. However,
this real serious violent thing happened.
Yeah. Are there any poems from our dear friends in the audience, many of whom I know and love? Well, love is in the broadest possible sense, I suppose. D'Angelo's that really fucked me up. I'm like, I love everyone.
I know. Well, I told
Before
her,
you came on stage, she was like, if there's something you want to do in life, you need to do it now. That is what you said. I was like...
We were talking about that,
I feel that. Unfortunately, tonight...
The urgency of, like, live.
Who knows where the night's going to take me after hearing that.
Into the poems. We're going to be into the writing.
Into the DMs of... into the DMs of many women.
But I do want to shout out that, like, Hanif's shirt.
Oh, Maxwell. Yeah, it's Maxwell.
Ooh, Maxwell. So when I came in the room, I was like, oh my gosh, like Couture loved Maxwell. And so that just, reminded me of that. So I feel like in some ways,
even we don't know it.
She's in the room too. So thank you.
Hello.
Yeah. In talking about D'Angelo, it's not, so one of the things that I was thinking about, I'm like a technology person, and you were talking about kind of like the passing of so many people that we're kind of like legends and like becoming ancestors. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, I'm not sure if it's just that I'm older or if technology makes so many people significance, their death seems so like present, but it sometimes feels like when somebody that you looked up to and you knew like passes on, it kind of feels like there's not much following, and it can kind of feel a little disorienting to kind of feel like so many people who paved the way kind of went and that work behind them doesn't get filled. So I'm kind of wondering if you guys have been in your spaces, like this is to both of you, where are you guys seeing sort of like the next generation of people, whether it's creatively, whether it's like sort of community leadership, like where are you guys kind of seeing that next generation coming up behind? Thank you for your question.
Every year for the past, since like 2019, I've worked with like a rotating group of about 7 to 8 Columbus City Schools poets, all volunteer. Like it's all voluntary. We meet one Sunday a month in a meeting room in a library for like 4 hours, and we workshop each other's poems. And that's just like, we really grind on each other's poems. They made works, they tear mine apart, I tear their, it's real work. And none of them have career aspirations. Like if you were to ask any of them, I suppose maybe one would be like, I would like to be a capital W writer. But most of them are just like, I like poems and I don't have an outlet for them anywhere else. And I would like to do that along, and they don't actually care about my work. They care about my work that I bring into the room, but they're not like going home and Googling me and being like, look at all the books. Because the idea is that once we cross the threshold of that space in the library, we're all writers. So there is no hierarchy, right? Anyone who can teach me something in that moment is an elder to me. It doesn't matter if they're 15 or 82. I'm mostly saying this because I think stripping out this kind of these hierarchical principles when it comes to art making gives me a lot of hope for the next generation of art makers. And so the reason I put that kind of on the table, the first thing we do when we walk in the room is I say, no one in this room is yes, I'm perhaps a more experienced writer than you all, but I'm not your teacher, I'm not a parent, I'm not your boss. You have a responsibility to make my work better, right? And I have a responsibility to make your work better. I think that for me helps to create a cross-generational opportunity to learn and create alongside each other that really does make the next generation a bit more tuned into a practice of art making that is perhaps, or at least hopefully, less about creating and reinforcing models of scarcity. As Toni Morrison would say, like scarcity is an enemy of accountability, because if we are to believe that Black genius specifically is rare, that means that we will accept anything from the lone, rare Black genius. We'll just accept anything, and that will come increasingly more and more of a nightmare, and then we have to say, well, this is our lone one, and then you get Kanye West. And so the greater question is, how can we zoom out and I know you probably are thinking how can we like zoom out and ask the better question of not even cultivating genius. Like I don't sit in that room with those teenagers and say, I'm cultivating your genius. I'm saying you've arrived to me as geniuses and we have responsibility to each other. There's a kid on my block I see him playing sometimes when I go on my runs. And the other day he was staring into a puddle. It rained. And I was like, what are you doing, man? And he was like, well, there was a rainbow in the puddle and I could see it across my face. And now I'm trying to get my face back into the puddle. I'm trying to get my reflection back in the puddle so the rainbow comes across it. And I was like, you're as much of a genius as, you're 8 years old. The Black genius is literally living and breathing among us. It's embedded in our children. It's embedded in like the oral traditions of our elders. It is everywhere. And so I think actually to create an ecosystem where, I don't know if this is answering your question well, but to create an ecosystem where there is a next generation that feels as though they have something to teach the capital U greater elder us or whatever the fuck is important, because that gives them also a level of creative autonomy and trust within their own work and trust within their own abilities. And that's what's really going to save us, I think.
I don't think that there's anything else I need to say after that. Mic drop. Thank you.
Guess I need the mic. It's for Barb. So I'm curious from, you say you started writing as a prayer, basically. what is your relationship to loss now that you have been a writer in this capacity for this number of years, compared to like when you first started writing? You know, and something I can add as an editorial, just having listened to you for this long, when you mention death, when you mention things like that in your work, I think previously it felt like a destination, and now it feels like something that is something you're passing by, or something that is part of the neighborhood you're circling, but it doesn't feel like that's where you're going. And so I'm kind of curious about what your relationship to loss is, you know, on and off the page, right? In terms of how you process those things now, and then how they manifest themselves in your writing now.
Thanks, Will. Hi, Will. I think for me, initially, my relationship to loss was me I used poetry as a way to heal a wound, you know, and to try to fill that space where loss has been, you know, and I was trying to get myself really to a place of wholeness and a place of healing. So I feel like I was writing a lot out of survival in a lot of ways. And I think now I look at loss as a space to be able to honor. It's a space where, I like use it as a space to honor and uplift and maybe journey alongside folks, you know, who we have lost. So yeah, thanks. Oh, Kaleem.
Hey, Barb.
Hi, Kaleem.
We all obviously love Barbara so much. We're just like, look,
gosh.
can we just make some noise for Barbara, man? Like, I just wanted to ask a question about like, and like Hanif said, it might be in the spirit of just thinking about D'Angelo. You know, you and I talk, I don't know how many people like in the room are aware of like how much music influences you, and how much, you know, even your ability to play instruments and music. So it with P Black for your last book, right? You know, like, so I don't know if y'all know Barbara got an album out with P Black, but y'all might want to go listen to that. It's kind of twofold. Like, do you have any musical things that you want to adapt with like your latest work? And also, was there any musical things that kind of influenced, you know, the stories that you wanted to tell? Like, were you pulling any musical creativity in this book?
Absolutely. Shout out to Kaleem, who is in the building. Yeah, I mean, music is it's always been a part of my life. So I started playing the keys by ear. My dad is a musician. His mother was the pianist of our church for like 30 years. So I grew up with my grandmother's piano in the house. I learned that I could hear things and then play them and then mimic my dad. And my dad would be playing something and I would, you know, mimic him. So music is always a part of my life and a part of the way I think that I move in the world. Shout out to all the singers, musicians, producers in the building, because I love y'all, man. Y'all be inspiring me. But I'm gonna do an album. I want to do an album, Kaleem, so get it together, brother. You feel me? I'm ready for the tracks, okay, producer? I want to do an album. I want, because I think we need to be in all the spaces. I think poets need to be in all the spaces. And so, yes, I would love to do a full album with this work. And I think music always inspires and influences and pushes me. I'm a lover of gospel. I'm a lover of hip hop. And so that's always a part of my life and my journey. I'm trying to think of like, what was I really listening to when I was writing this book? Probably some Leanne LaHavis. That's probably who I was like working with, you know, when I was writing this book.
You know she's back. She's like got a new thing coming.
Does she?
Yeah.
Of course you would know. I love it. Yeah. All right. I think
What time? Damn it.
Yeah, we didn't realize it was past 8. We're so sorry,
Past
y'all.
8. We locked in. Now they close at 8, so this is where we're staying tonight. Unfortunately, you know what I mean?
I just want to shout out, just say thank you so much, you know, to everybody who decided to come out today. Thank you so much. I see so many friends and family in this space, and just really, really full of gratitude. I don't get to come home all the time, so thank y'all for always making home feel like home. Thank you, honey.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Bexley Library. Thank you. Thank you.